Hello and welcome to the Justin Hamilton podcast. I am, of course, Justin Hamilton, and today we are recapping the season 5 finale of The Bear and I'm guessing, the finale of the series as a whole. And I think one of the hardest things to do in general, whether it's an album, a TV show, a movie, a book, comic book series, it's hard to get endings right because essentially endings are not only having to tie up storylines and wrap themes up and present something that for every viewer is satisfying, but it's also the moment where the creator or creators are telling all of us as consumers that whatever our hypotheses have been, whatever we've been hoping for, whatever we are convinced is going to happen, were right or wrong. And sometimes when you think something's going in a certain direction and it doesn't, you can get really disappointed. And I think that's why a lot of people find endings to be disappointing. And sometimes, even in the moment, you can be, and then if you revisit that ending, you can go, oh, no, 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 that was perfect. There's a few TV series that I think have finished perfectly. Of course, 6 Feet Under is the gold standard, that last 3 minutes for anyone who watched that show and then experienced that. Man, it nearly put me in a coma. I cried so hard. I think the ending to The Leftovers is brilliant. And then there are TV series that I think cop a lot of shit for their endings, and I just don't agree with them. The Sopranos, I think, is a brilliant ending. I think the ending to Lost is fantastic. And then there's things like Better Call Saul. I think Better Call Saul has not only a perfect endpoint, but it's also a perfect endpoint for the Breaking Bad universe. So they're difficult. And I have to say to all of you who have been in on this little mini season with me and been watching The Bear with me via this podcast for 5 seasons, I'm really fucking happy with this ending. I just thought it hit many of the beats that I really wanted and hoped for, and it also held back some things. It didn't really always give me things exactly how I wanted them or expected them to go, but it also gave me moments that you longed for, and when we received them, they felt totally earned. And then sometimes they gave you things that you wanted in ways that you maybe didn't expect. A very difficult thing to pull off, and I think they did a remarkable job. So much happens in this episode. I'm not entirely certain how to jump into this. I think that I think the thing that was really nice about this is all about love. It's all people expressing love for each other in obvious ways and in more subtle ways, and I think we deserved it. I think the characters deserved it, and I think we deserved it for being a part of this. I hate the word journey because it kind of gets thrown around so much, but it has been a journey. We see the next day with Ibra working on his pitch. Maybe let's lean into that part to begin with, right? So he's rehearsing his speech, and then later on we see him with the beef team, and they're all kind of giving him hey, this is how we're going to do it, and yeah, say it like this, and if Kami doesn't go for it, we're going to kick the shit out of him and we're going to murder him. And Ibra's like, I don't want him to die. I just want him to say yes. And to we see an earlier scene where Kami's already told about it, and so when he goes out and he begins to talk, it's just really funny that Kami says, "Yeah, that's a great idea," and then just, "Yeah, let's go for it," and then just moves on. Funny, just it's a this show gets dinged for uh, being too dramatic for a comedy and too comedic for a drama, and you try to call it a dramedy, but I think that's such a terrible word. I think this is just fuck the Emmys. Who gives a shit what category it's in? It's just a really well told story, and this is a perfect example of uh, a long setup for a punchline. You know, like you've seen stand-up comedy. Sometimes a good comedian can stretch something out and then hit you in a place you're not quite expecting with the punchline. As soon as he heard about it from Jimmy, I had a feeling that's where this whole storyline was going to end. It's just from me writing routines like that in the past. So I was kind of expecting it. And then when Kami was like, yeah, yeah, this is great, let's do it, I just laughed. I got what I expected, but it didn't detract from it. It was still really funny. And then seeing them all as a group going off to set up their first next little beef was just magic. I just thought all of that was really fantastic. God, I've got pages, I've got notes everywhere. All right. So that storyline finished well. Oh, and of course, yes, he finally found the spoon thieves, and of course, it was the dessert boys, those dirty dogs. I found all of that really funny, and I loved that not only was Marcus unrepentant, but also Luca was in on it from the get go. And anyway, that was once again, that was a good payoff. I think look, all of these podcasts are starting to blur at the moment. I'm pretty certain that I said that I thought that it was Marcus and Luca, or at least Marcus. But yeah, that was once again a nice payoff. Um, the where can we go? God, I think let's talk about the moment with Jimmy and Kami. That is probably um, one of the better examples of masculinity that we've seen. Like Jimmy's learnt some lessons. He's apologetic, but also explains that the reason his language is so harsh and vulgar and so confronting is because deep down he really loves Kami, and that's why it comes out the way that it does. And as I said, this is an episode about people expressing love in the ways that they feel comfortable and are best equipped to express it. And so Kami is also in a better place that he understands where uh, uh, Uncle Jimmy is coming from. And there's a moment where they're talking about things, and he's sort of saying, "Hey, you can't go." And he has that moment where he has to say, Lee was right, which is such a big moment for both of them. And he sort of says, to break patterns, you have to break patterns, and that is that's a true thing. It doesn't matter that he did find a love for what he was doing again. He has to break the patterns. He has to shake it up, and this is his opportunity. It's a level of maturity from both characters that we have not seen in the past. And then also finishes with Jimmy asking if he has to ask Kami's permission to ask Donna out, which is something that poor Kami, like, come on, do you have to do you have to put him under the pump like that? Uh, Gary's got a job as a sommelier. That's great. What else do we have? Oh, Richie. gets invited to be a guest in Japan at an international event for people that he had been good to earlier. And it is, immediately, like Kami, he doesn't really want to go, doesn't really want to commit to it, and has to be, given some tough love in the best possible way from not only Natalie, but we'll get to the next bit of who gives him tough love in a second. The Luca and Marcus storyline comes to an end. There's a nice moment where they're talking about the brioche, and Luca Marcus says, we don't want to have to see Kami, essentially pull a rabbit out of his hat again. And Marcus says that he's seen Kami do that kind of thing many, many times. And, after Luca kind of hit Kami with a stray, it is just a nice moment of being reminded that Kami is a genius at what he does, a torture genius, a terrible leader, but when it comes to cooking, when he is in the zone, one of the greatest, and that he manages to just kind of convey that in that little conversation is a really sweet moment. Marcus taking Luca to the airport, like real kind of uh, gentle guy talk. And I say that in the best possible way. Finishes them with them both telling each other that they love each other, stay in touch, giving each other a big hug. Great. And then Marcus arriving at work and, finding the note from Kami that says no limits, and it's a whole lot of his books just brings that storyline and that character arc to a nice conclusion. And you kind of know Marcus is in a good place. And hopefully, in your mind, as this story continues, even though we don't get to see it, you feel like Marcus will continue to get better. And at some point, he will spend time with his father and maybe find not necessarily a reconciliation that can make up for the past, but is an opportunity for them to discover a foundation that will at least make their present a better place. I love we wanted something between Richie and Kami, and this is a prime example of Christopher Storer and his team giving us what we want in a way that we don't expect, but is true to both characters. So Richie having a panic attack in the fridge, which is, one of the best places to have a panic attack from all reports. Kami coming in, initially Richie admitting he's never flown before, which is it's a nice it's funny, isn't it? It's if something's written well, I just fully believe that. I just thought, oh yeah, of course Richie's never flown before. When would Richie have flown? And to be sent to Japan, he's shown interest in Japan before. Remember, he had the William Friedkin story and the what was it? It was the little garden taped to his wall, etc. So this is a place that has in his head held a significant resonance. And so, of course, he's having a little panic attack. And it also would mean leaving some place that he feels incredibly connected to. And he initially reacts to Kami's conversation incorrectly. And once upon a time, both men would have kicked off. But it's funny, Richie saying, get Tina. But Kami soothes the situation and explains what he's trying to say about airports, are awful, but flying can be quite a zen experience. And in a way, it's almost like the restaurant business. The restaurant business can be so stressful and full of anxiety, and then when you're, as a metaphor, flying with what you're doing, that's when the zen kicks in, and it's a really nice moment. And what I've liked throughout this season is touch has been an incredibly important aspect of uh, this series. It's touch and all the senses actually. Like there's that really beautiful moment in the previous episode that I actually forgot to mention, I think, which is, and I found this to be quite poetic, when Sydney's just having like just a little minor panic moment, and Kami says, can you hear it sing?" Meaning that the cooking, it's music, and then we just take a moment to focus on that sound, and it's it is like I can hear what he is saying. There is a cadence to the world. The world vibrates, and there is music everywhere, and it reveals itself in myriad ways, and I just love that. And so we've seen, getting back to Carmi and Richie, we've seen them reaching out, touching, just little moments of physical connection, and this moment where they have this nice conversation, and there's just a little bit of touching, and then Kami hits Richie with the joke that they're locked in the fridge. And for a brief instance, I actually believed Kami, and when he revealed that he was joking, I was like, oh yeah, of course, because they've set it up that they couldn't. And the moment the two of them wrestle, we don't need a Marcus Luca hug. We need Kami and Richie wrestling because it's funny, and it's their version of the hug, and it's those two characters, like you kind of wanted them to sort of express their love for each other, but I reckon that would have, I think the thing that's brilliant about this episode is it gives us a lot of emotional rewarding, but they hold back on some stuff, and it stops it from being a little bit soppy or being a little bit emotionally manipulative. Them wrestling is that to me in this episode is a moment that glues the whole series together, because we get what we want, but we get it in the way that is true to the characters, and they're having fun, like they're laughing. And Richie's fucking, you bastard, and it's cute. And from that moment on, you go, those guys are going to be better. Like even when later on, when Richie's daughter says, Richie saying, well, I'm taking you to the bear, but it's really serious, and she makes a joke at Carmi's expense about like Carmi serious, and Richie can now just laugh. Like once upon a time, it would have been, yeah, that fucking guy, but this time it's like, yeah, like Carmi. So that to me was a perfect example of knowing your characters and knowing how to give us what we crave in ways that we least expect. And I just thought that was a masterclass in decision making, acting. I'd love to know more about that moment. The moment where Sydney's hanging shit on the facts, man, I'll be honest with you, that scene could have gone for another 5 minutes for me. I found that so funny. I found it so funny. Um, we get a nice moment with Tina and her husband, probably the best relationship in the show. I love the husband. I love Tina. I love them together. That scene is it's small. It's in many ways inconsequential. It's gentle. He believes in her. No notes. That's beautiful. One last time, Natalie and Pete, that moment where she just kind of looks at him with the kid. He's going to be a good dad, and everything is fine. And even in that moment, she's on the phone to her mum, and she tells her mum that she loves her. All beautiful, all very sweet. Natalie doesn't say anything to her husband. She doesn't say I love you or you're going to be a great dad. She just looks at him in a way that we know what she's feeling, and we know that this little moment is a moment of breath, a moment of exhaling, and this is a moment of zen. And it's interesting. We see a lot of characters breathe, like take moments to breathe. So um, I loved all of that. I'm going to just be saying that a lot to you. You know what? Let's honestly. Let's get to the big thing that we need to discuss. So the we finally find out who's been calling Kami. I thought, to be honest, he was avoiding it, but it was just a number he didn't recognize. So um, he didn't pick up. And if that's not relatable, I don't know what is. But he finally picks up. It's Peter Clark, who has been calling 7 times, and they finally have this conversation. And then we see Kami by himself, once again, having a moment and breathing. And we've seen a little bit of interaction between Kami and Sydney throughout this episode, like Sydney asking him, "What are you going to do? Like, do you even have any skills?" And you know them being able to laugh about that. But she sees that he's having a moment. And once again, I honestly can't remember if we hypothesized this a couple of episodes ago, but um, we it, like I know this isn't a documentary, and I accept a lot of things, but the night before, lots of things were happening, and the idea that the person who comes in and rewards stars would be coming in on this night of all nights. Like if you wanted to be like not much fun and be a bit of a bummer, you could say, "Oh, as if that would happen." But guess what? It didn't happen because this guy came in months ago. Like ages ago. And so that was, once again, this series has done a very good job of sleight of hand. And he came in, Sydney goes and speaks to Kami, and this is everything you kind of wanted in the series finale, where Kami talks about how he came in, what this guy liked, what he didn't like, and she's waiting for the but. She even articulates it. And, there is just this, just checking my notes because I actually just want to get this bit of dialogue correct. I'm so sorry that you're having me have to push my way around notes and notes and notes and notes and notes and notes. Oh, yes, there it is. You know, so so when she asks, did we not get a star, and he says no, and it's just the pause, and he, such beautiful acting at this point, and he just looks at Sydney and says, "You got two." And what's interesting about this moment is this guy came in months ago, and he came in under the Kami regime, which was unhappy, which was awful, which was stressful, and in a way, his vision was correct. It's just it was never about his talent. It was never about his vision. It was about the way he approached it, and it is. This has been a series about the family trying to overcome their PTSD and of just the way they handle themselves and each other, and the shadow of Mikey looming over them, and in that moment there is a generosity of spirit because Sydney's now in charge. He's already told Jimmy that she's the real deal, and that everything's going to be fine. And he says, you got two. So technically, it's not 100% correct, but emotionally, it's 1,000. And it's such a good moment. And then she goes off to have her moment to kind of think about it, and he just kind of wanders off in his own way. And then after 5 seasons, you know what we got? We got what we fucking wanted, which was the two of them have the moment of just looking at each other. She initiates the contact. They hug and they pull back. He puts his massive hands on her head. I don't know if you noticed that in a really lovely and gentle way. And then they hug some more. And you know what? Once again, I don't need to hear, oh, I love you. Oh, thank you for everything you did for me. No, thank you for what you did to me. That is the moment. It's well acted. It's beautifully shot. The way the camera pans around and the light captures them from outside, and it's the hairs on my arms. Look at that. The hairs on my arms are standing up. It's such a beautiful moment. And you know what? The TV series earned it through the writing and direction and production and everyone working hard on it. And you know who else deserved it? We fucking deserved it. We deserved that moment. And it was great. And it hit. And I just was absolutely wrapped with all of that. What else? Richie has a moment of, remembering the scorched earth with Mikey, etc. Um, you know, it's good that there's not much Mikey in this. Gary was the Mikey episode. Just a reminder. I feel that no one's ever going to forget Mikey, but Carmi, Donna, and Nat are now going to be a stronger family unit than ever, and now they'll talk about be able to refer to Mikey in the best of possible ways. And Richie, who's been thinking about that moment in from the Gary episode that day, it feels like he finally makes peace with his friend that he very much loved and couldn't save, and who hurt him and filled him full of complex emotions like guilt, etc. I don't know, I'm guessing most of us have lost somebody at some point, and there's those deaths that are coming, and there's those deaths that take you by surprise, and then there's sometimes a death that sideswipes you, and they're strange, and they can linger at the periphery of who you are and affect your decisions, and can douse your emotions in melancholy in ways that are difficult to reconcile and even to realize that are there. I once had a friend, I won't go into it, but I once had a friend who died many years ago. She was only 31, and it was a terrible death. And she just got sick, and she ended up getting an infection, and none of us saw it coming. And there was a complexity to how she could have ended up in a situation that could result in this happening. And I hadn't seen her for a little while, not long, but like we used to catch up all the time, and then we hadn't seen each other for a few months, so it wasn't too long. I'd been on the road a lot. It was post Melbourne Comedy Festival in 2008, I think, and then so it was like August. So I'd been on the road for a long time, and I had a lot of guilt for her death, which was completely dumb. But I didn't realize that I had those feelings and those thoughts, and I recognize. I recognize what's going on with Richie. It's not a one for one. They're very different. But the writing is so good in the show. You recognize beats. Isn't at one point Carmi looking through his phone at the messages that he never sent, or are they messages that he sent to Mikey's phone after he died. Have you ever done that? I've gone over text threads from long departed friends, and I think sometimes there's a point where, weirdly, in the 21st century, the moment of finality of saying goodbye to someone is deleting their name and number from your phone. Isn't that strange? But anyway, I was just so wrapped for Richie in this uh, finale to be rewarded, to find that moment of grace with Mikey. He had such a, once again, great conversation with Sydney, her encouraging him to go, giving him a little care package, him asking what she wants. Her, we know she has a sweet tooth, so all of that's great. And them having a little hug, her telling him, go away. If you want to go to a ninja museum, Richie, go to the ninja museum. Go, my friend. Reminding him we've got this, and them hugging. Perfect. Just perfect. Like, the more I talk about these things, the more I realize how good it was. And this was initially a series about Kami, and in the end, it was about Kami, who was referred to as Bear, and it ended up being a series about everyone, and they're all bears. And Richie on a plane with Jess holding hands, like we don't see them kiss, like we see them touch. That's what I was talking about earlier. It's about the senses. It's about smelling. It's about hearing. It's about taste. It's a little touch here, holding hands. I don't need to see them kiss. This is in many ways much more romantic, I think. Um, and I think we finally there'd been a message in the background that I'd forgotten to mention, that Kami was meant to call Stevie, and we finally found out what that was about. And John Mulaney only gets the one scene, but it's a cracker. It's a really good scene, and kind of explains, to Kami what he should be leaning into and what would work for him, and et cetera, et cetera. And even the moment where he takes him to the architectural design building, even Kami having the comfort within himself to ask, "Hey, can you wait for me?" But he goes up, and has this interview with, by the way, that's actress, a Chicago native, Bonnie Hunt. She's fantastic. You know, she asks him a question, and Kami, who has been incredibly inarticulate about his thoughts and his emotions and feelings for 5 seasons, kind of misinterprets the question, which is great. But you hear him talk through everything, and you see that he's in a better place, and being able to admit that if he'd been the person in charge that night, everything would have fallen apart. And just the love that he felt, and how the moment was amazing. It's, everyone describes that night as hell, but all of them refer to it as the place that they need to be. Sometimes the place you need to be isn't, all Skittles and lollies. Like, sometimes the place you need to be is hard. It's never about this. This is what drives me a little bit crazy in the modern world, and this desire to use AI to cut corners and fucking shit like that. It's not about the end product. It's honestly, I know it's a cliche, but it's about getting there. It's about the steps taken. It's about the journey. It's about working on things and stumbling and fucking hitting your elbow on something, and losing faith in yourself, and being uncertain, and then having a little victory, and then building on that victory, and then thinking you've done something good, and then you look back at it and you go, fuck, I've got to reinvent that and go back into it. And then after all of those steps, with all of those people and all of the ups and downs and the doubts and the victories and when you finally land at that moment there, that it doesn't fucking matter unless you've done all of the stuff to get to it. In the end, what you hold up, well, whatever you do in your profession or your hobbies, that's just the full stop on the story. It's not. You don't fucking open up a book and have a full stop. You know, that's what people need to understand. It's not about we don't live. We've got to stop fucking calling it content. There is real. Uh, it's really demeaning to art and culture and entertainment. And anyway, I'm getting passionate. I've look. I'm full of the emotions. It's, Kami talking about his, he always loved art. For food, it was the colors. Um, you know, it's just it's a beautiful speech. It is a beautiful performance by Jeremy Allen White. He's in many ways the star of the show, and in this season, a part of the ensemble. And it's just a nice little reminder in this finale. Hey, Kami can cook, and so can White, and he does such a beautiful, beautiful job with that almost monologue where he is searching for the words and finding the correct ones. And later on, you see that moment where he's looking around the office and all the dishes that he's made, the history of the life that he has lived. Um, yeah, all of it's great. And then, you know what? Finishing with Richie's surprise party for his daughter. He's a good dad. Isn't it nice to see for all their flaws and for the mania that they've been surrounded by and the bad examples of men that have influenced them. You have real confidence for Richie that he's going to break a lot of those traits, and he's a good dad. Pete's a good dad. Who knows? Maybe even Kami will be able to, if he and Molly have children, Claire, sorry, that maybe he'll be a good dad. Yeah, and having, I was expecting a needle drop. The fucking needle drop for the first season with Let Down playing fucking ruined me. God, it really sideswiped me. Anyone watching this, I'm pointing, but my lounge is over there, my TV is over there. Fuck, I had a good cry at the end of that, and their music drops their needle drops have been so fantastic. And you know what? Once again, Storer and his team do not give us that. They give us the beautiful sounds of everyone having a good time at a little party. What a fucking great ending. It just made me really happy. If you watched the ending and it didn't live up to what you wanted to have happen, this would be my advice. Do what the characters in the bear did. Take a breath. Breathe. Listen to the world. Listen to the music that is in everyday life. Go and make yourself a sandwich. Read a book. Do something. And then go back and now watch the finale, not for what you wanted it to be, but for what they wanted to present to you. It's like going to a restaurant. You think you want spaghetti bolognese, but, maybe you should just let the chef cook and give you something that you don't expect. And even though it might be surprising to your palate, if you remain present, let the taste hit you, and it might inspire a different reading and a different emotional response. But for the rest of us, it hit hard. And even though I felt teary in moments, you know what? I got what the chef saw had, and it was that moment of zen. All right. there you go. That's the end of our mini series of podcasts. As of next week, we will get back to the Tuesday, Thursday format. I have Mulk is going to come on, and we're going to be talking about the series finale of Widow's Bay. A few other TV shows. I'm sure we'll touch on The Bear as well. Poor Mulk. He got the 7 episodes, and he watched them all in one. And I had to say to him, "Bop, bop, 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 bop. Don't say anything." And he was a good boy. He fucking didn't. So I'm sure he'll be bursting to share some thoughts. So that'll be fun. We have Garth coming back to talk about books and graphic novels that we've read. I have a podcast with Josh Earl. Will Anderson is returning to the podcast. And of course, I will be talking about the Odyssey. Do not worry about that. I have a few sessions already locked in, so there's some things to look forward to. If you'd like to support this podcast, a top review, if you have time to write it on whatever platform you listen to this podcast, would be great. If you would like to support it financially for as little as $5 a month, you can sign up at Patreon. And not only does that money go into production of this podcast and subscriptions and equipment maintenance and all of that, but it is also a place where you can find bonus podcasts, live shows that have been filmed, and also an ad-free version of this podcast that goes up every week. You can watch this on YouTube, where there are 2 live stand-up specials that I have filmed. You can check them out for free if you like. If you, it's interesting. Some of you have listened to the podcast and never seen me do stand-up, or not much. So if you'd like to see my stand-up, you can find it there. I have a Substack. We can talk about that some other time. And you can sign up for my newsletter, which is a distillation of what I do on this podcast, where every fortnight you'll get a little email that will suggest a book, movie, TV show I've seen, album I've listened to, and some fun stuff, and little updates as to what's going on, opportunities for discounted tickets to shows, etc. That's all free to sign up for as well. You can find that at justinhamilton.com.au. Yeah, all right. Wow. That podcast, I just looked at how long I've been talking. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of it. Thank you to everyone who has joined in on this. Now that I have a little bit more breathing space, I promise you I will get to you all of your emails. And thank you for taking the time to write to me. You can always write to me at justinhamiltonpodcast@gmail.com. I've set it up specifically for this podcast. So any thoughts that you have, please feel free to share them. I actually just received a beautiful email, actually. I'll just do, sorry, I know I was saying goodbye, but a big shout out to Josh Button, who was going to be doing the episodes one at a time. No, that's not the email I was looking for. I'm so sorry. I was just about to say goodbye, and then I've been that really annoying fucking ending that I sometimes do. A big shout out to John from Toronto, Canada, who sent me the loveliest email. He's watching The Singing Detective, and he was wondering if I would do a podcast about it. John, you're talking my words, buddy. I think I will do that, but I might take a breather and we'll go from there. All right. Thank you so much. I'm full of emotion. I hope you are too. I hope you loved the finale as much as I did. And as we bid adieu to The Bear, and what a ride it's been, I thought it was fantastic. Until then.